Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. My name is Leon Jones, and I'm going to get right into it because tonight I'm going to talk about democratic socialism, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about Epstein, and then I also talk about the federal judge in El Paso. They've blocked the redistricting effort from Texas from being used in the 2026 election. Now, when we talk about socialism, a number of individuals here in America don't understand what socialism really is. And if you look at it, we're moving further and further and further, particularly your large cities, and it's the young folk who don't like capitalism because they don't understand capitalism, and they've been taught that capitalism is for greedy people. There's no trickle down economics. Well, under socialism, what they want is to have the workers own the economy. Now, if you have read books on Karl Marx, you have a lot of movements, the feminist movement, the Black Panther movement, even Martin Luther King. A lot of them were based on Marxism. When you see this fist, okay, this fist is not a black power fist, that's the fist of communism. Well, Mondami. Now, it's funny now, Mondami actually wants to go down there to meet Trump. Now, Mondami is a socialist, a communist, rather. And a lot of your young people and your women. And the problem with women is when they talk about equality, they're talking about an equal distribution of everything. Well, that doesn't work. In fact, what makes women look like they're independent, and I have to put this in there, is that when it comes down to advocacy for men, women are always going to complain that it's not fair. Men have all the rights. They're not giving us anything. Let's look at the Boy Scouts. Well, the Boy Scouts of America, which I was a Boy Scout a long, long time ago, used to be just for boys. Well, now it's called the Scouts of America. So that means everything that men have, they have to share with women. So when it comes to women, that makes everything look like it's equal, and that reduces the power of men. But when you look on the other side, women don't have to share anything with men. So that makes them look independent. In fact, they still have the Girl Scouts. But if you look at, let's say, the WNBA, well, how is the WNBA really functioning right now? It's living off of the NBA. Now, when we talk about democratic socialism, it is a left-wing political and economic philosophy that advocates for a democratically run and socially owned economy to replace capitalism while strictly adhering to democratic processes and rejecting authoritarianism. It generally supports political democracy alongside an economic system where key industries and services are owned by the public or workers rather than private entities. So what does that mean? They want everything. When you hear the term public, always understand that means government. So basically, they want the government to own everything. They want the government. I had a debate with somebody at work. They said, well, the workers own everything. No, the workers don't. The public owns it, which the public, that is basically the government. Now, the core principles under democratic socialism. Democratic control is basically foundational principle, and that is the expansion of democracy into the economic sphere. This can include workplace democracy, worker self-management, or public ownership of major industries through a democratically elected government. Rejection of authoritarianism. Now, authoritarianism is what communism really is. So basically, the Democratic Socialists explicitly distinguish their ideology from Marxist, Leninist, or Soviet style communism, which they view as authoritarian and undemocratic. Well, what happens with socialism, it actually leads to communism. Social ownership. The goal is a systematic transformation of the economy from a for profit. Now, listen, they don't want for profit. That means capitalism. You work for profit. So, what the socialists want is they want to transfer from a for profit kind of economy to a private ownership model to where production meets public needs. This is achieved through various forms of social ownership, not necessarily total control over all property. Then you have gradualism versus revolution. The modern democratic socialists seek a gradual transition to socialism through reformist legislative means, electoral politics within an existing system. There were some tendencies, for a more revolutionary transformation. Now, as you see the list right down here, well, the distinction from social democracy. So you have democratic socialism and you have social democracy. So the goal for socialism or democratic socialism is to replace the capitalist system with a socialist one. And it's also for the democracy, is to reform and humanize capitalism through a strong welfare state and regulation. And what does that mean? The government owns everything or owns all the resources, and they decide where the resources go. The government will decide. When they don't own everything, they redistribute everything. But it is closer to communism. Ownership emphasizes collective or public ownership of the means of production. On the democracy side, primarily maintains private ownership while providing extensive social welfare programs, universal health care, free education, funded by taxation. Now, socialism aims to go beyond the welfare state to a fundamentally different economic system, works with a mixed market economy that's known as what we call Keynesian economics. Now, in practice, organizations like the Democratic Socialists of America advocate for immediate radical reforms such as Medicare for all, the Green New Deal, and a higher minimum wage as a transition towards their long-term socialist goals. That sounds like Cloward and Bivens. They were two professors back in the 60s, and they advocated for the current system, which is capitalism, to be collapsed and something else would start. Now, while some European countries, like those with the Nordic model, are sometimes informally referred to as democratic socialists, they're more accurately described as social democracies as they operate within a capitalist framework with extensive social safety nets. So that's not total socialism. So you have capitalism, but what happens is when they invoke socialism, that means the upper echelon, the higher wage earners, which, if you think about it, we have a progressive tax system already, where the highest federal rate is right around 37%. So, notably and historically, you have contemporary figures associated with the democratic socialist ideas like Salvador Allende, former president of Chile, Clement Attlee, former UK prime minister, and you have US politicians such as Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, I will say this, whenever you get the government to involve themselves in something, it never works. And the Democrats, what they did, they used the government shutdown. And what the Democrats really want, they don't care about Americans. Although they keep talking about health care, but they're not saying health care for Americans. They want health care for illegals. And the bottom line is the illegals, they're still getting welfare benefits as well. And the illegals, they're now becoming the new voting bloc. This is what you don't hear. And you have some Republicans in it as well. And in the long run, that kind of economy doesn't work. Now, the younger folks love socialism. They don't know what it is. And basically, when they hear something that sounds real good, they take to it. Now, why are the younger folks taking to it? Because they've been indoctrinated through your college system, your public school system. You have a number of them who can't even do freshman, and I'm talking about high school freshman math, because a lot of these individuals, and you see a number of them here on TikTok, like I'm going to go to the Epstein files. Well, if Donald Trump was really part of the Epstein files, they would have put that out while he was campaigning. They didn't put it out there. Now, I believe that there are a number of Democrats who played a part in it. And see, what Donald Trump did, he was actually looking out for them, not wanting to put it out. But now you have a lot of the public that wants to put it out. Now, one of the problems is you could have some individuals who were innocent. Not all of them did what we believe happened. Now, you had Ghislaine Maxwell, she's serving time for her part in it. But for the most part, I just want to say this. I never even heard of Jeffrey Epstein until he took himself out in 2020. And most of us never heard of Epstein. But why did Democrats so, I don't want to say enraged? Why do they want the Epstein files to be put out so bad? To hurt the president? You're not going to hurt the president. In fact, the president's lawyers already said he didn't have anything to do with the Epstein files. And for the most part, here on Black YouTube, if you're really talking about the Epstein files or politics, stay with the relationship stuff. You know, let people like me and Angry Man and Barry, we know what's going on out here. We look at it every day. This is why I don't go on panels. Because a lot of Black folk, they're really behind when it comes to politics. And if you think about the individuals who really want socialism the most, it's the women. Why? Because the women, they don't think, they utilize feelings. Feelings don't get the job done. And in life, they're not taught that there's no free lunch. Somebody has to pay for it. And when I hear all of them, there was this Black guy who went on CNN. He wants to run against Hakeem Jeffries. And see what the Democrats want to do. They want to get all the old guard out there and put the socialists in there, because that's what the Democrats want. They want socialism. Now, speaking of the devil, the Democrats are using their lawyers again. And this is going to go to the Supreme Court. Well, I know Trump is suing California for their redistricting, but California has already done their redistricting. But there was a federal judge in El Paso, Texas, who blocked Texas from using their redistricting efforts. That's the redistricting efforts to gain 5 seats in next year's midterm elections. Well, it's funny. The Democrats never, ever play by the rules. This is how they utilize their socialism. And what they do, they try to bully the other side. And they use what we call the reverse. They always make it out like the Republicans are the ones who are fascists, because what it really is you have a number of them that want capitalism, they want limited government, and they want traditional ways America's run under the patriarchy. And see, I want to tell you something. Even if you have women running something, it's not a true matriarchy. Because in order for a true matriarchy to work, you're going to have the enforcers. Okay, how many you women are put in leadership positions? You still don't have any power. You need muscle. And when you don't have muscle, nothing's going to get done. There was this white woman, and the ones that I've been seeing lately, the real stupid ones. Now, I do criticize black women because I want a number of black women, and there's some of them who have come out of the woodworks and they started thinking straight, but it's these white women. And you white men, you're not checking the white women, particularly the ones from the city and suburbs. Now, the ones from the country and the small towns, all right, but there are a lot of stupid white women up here who are very, very, very liberal, but they're privileged. And see, when you have a number of these white people, what they're trying to do is they act like they're helping. They want us to, oh, we'll help you up. Well, they're doing it out of guilt. Bottom line is, they don't want to help us. They want to keep us down because they believe in oppression. Oppression makes them feel powerful. And that's what the white supremacists, and that's from the Democratic Party. But many individuals don't understand that. Why? Because they're too busy listening to everything that comes on to the media. Education. Remember I told you about the 5 power conferences of society? Now you have a lot of your religions now, your churches. Your churches aren't good anymore, particularly the black church, because they believe that we're all God's children. Okay, in theory, we are all God's children. Now, I've been watching this show. I believe it comes on Netflix. Tommy Jean turned me on to it. Shout out to her. It's called Shameless. Now, I want you all to go, if you have Netflix, I believe it's on Netflix. It's about this dysfunctional family in Chicago, where you have the dad, he's boozing up, now the sister's boozing up. Well, they're dysfunctional, but they're smart people. But if you really look at what's going on, there's some politics going on within that show, where Frank, he's the guy that believes in the dudes. But then you have the women. Deb is the sister. She's out there as a welder. She's talking about this girl power. And there's a black woman who has a white man. White man is about 6'5", 200, named Kev. She's bossing him around. Now, you know very well that when it comes to any woman and that crazy ass white man, she's not going to do that. Now, I like the show, but there is some wokeness in that show. You see the same sex relationships in that show. You even see where the man is actually taking care of the children and the woman isn't. You see Kev in that show. Now, V is a black woman. She wanted children at first. She couldn't get pregnant, so Kev used V's mother as a surrogate mother. Well, what happened was Kev's mother, played by Vanessa Bell Calloway, she ended up having one child. And that was supposed to be a child that was going to be given to V, and V is Veronica. They have a bar called the Alibi or Patsy's. Like I said, the story takes place in Chicago. You need to check it out and you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. And I'm putting that show in the context because you see a lot of leftism in that show. They talk about the alphabet movement against the traditional movement. And even in that show, they're trying to force everything traditional out. But Frank, who looks like a derelict, he's the one that shuts a lot of it down. I'll give you an example as well. In Chicago, you know the liberals. Well, Fiona shut it down as well. What Fiona did, there was this Karen. You had a couple of young guys right on the corner where they've always sold lemonade. So this white woman named Karen moved in. Called the cops. I call her Karen. It's a white woman. Well, they got a movement up there. And she said exactly what I said. Latte liberals. These are the ones up there who they want to use their delusional power. And this is the problem with a number of women. Because over in the Democratic Party, you have a lot of women who are Karens. And they think they have all this power. The problem is men allow them to have the power. And when men allow the women to have the power, the women are going to think they have the power. And this is what you see on TV. But I'm bringing that out there because there are a number of women. You have a black woman on that show. You have the dumb white women on that show. You have the dysfunction. You have the drugs. You even have the women on that show who really don't want the men, particularly with lip. Well, you have another white woman who got pregnant. She doesn't even, in my humble opinion, she doesn't even want him to be involved with the child. But that show depicts a lot of what's going on in society today. Now, some of you might not like the show, Shameless, but I believe you take a look at it. It's 11 or 12 seasons. And you will find out that that show depicts what the left wants to turn this country into. And see, the left is very dysfunctional. The left doesn't want structure. And see, when you turn it upside down, and this is what I'm talking about with the socialism, you want the workers to run everything. First of all, you can't run anything without a structure. If we thought like that with the military, we would lose wars. There has to be structure. That's what the United States is focused on. And see, you have a lot of these individuals with these values, you talk about fascism. Well, if you think about it, the left in this country, they're your anarchists. They're the ones who want socialism and communism. They want all these movements. This is why they're protesting. They're out there protesting for a king when there's no king. And you have Chucky Schumer, as I'm going back and forth with these topics. I believe Chucky Schumer this year will be primary. He's going to lose to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The Senate seat is hers. But see, you have a number of these women in power. They want socialism, and they raised men to want socialism as well. Like I said, if you look at the show, Shameless, it's going to tell you everything about what's going on. You have Kevin, again, who's married to the black woman named V. He's the dumb one. She's the smart one. But yet, she's not working a large job. She works at a bar. But she's smarter than what he is. Now, she wants to go out and work and She wants to go to work and have fun while he stays home and takes care of the kids. She doesn't want to have anything to do with the kids. That sounds a lot like a number of these women today. They want careers. Like I saw the other day, and she needs to quit. She looks like a baboon. And I'm talking about Leslie Jones, even when she put her hair up. And I remember, and see, when a number of black women, because I will tell you this about feminism right now, feminism is for the ugly women. They're the ones who have feminism. If you're a halfway decent looking woman, regardless of your body type, if you keep yourself up, most of the women have to go out and work, and they don't like men because the men aren't checking for them. Feminism has always been for the unattractive people because the unattractive woman has to go to work. And see, one of the reasons why women will never claim their so-called equality in this country, they're fighting against men. But a lot of the competition when it comes to women, it's against other women. They claim that they don't like men, they don't like other women. This is why it's funny. I look at the black lesbian relationships. Two black women can't get along with each other. And the black women who are doing well for themselves, they're not going with other black women. And I'm talking about the lesbian type, like Wanda Sykes, Robin Roberts, Lori Lightfoot, ones who have something going for themselves. They're not dealing with other black women, they're dealing with white women. And it's funny how some black people, they talk about hating white people. Not that they hate white people, they actually find something in common because when you deal with black people, and the problem is, when it comes to a number of black people, where we mess up, we don't know when to cut people off. You need to keep your circles very, very small. Don't allow people in your business. And that includes family. Just because you are my blood, if you're not going in the direction that I'm going in, I'm cutting you off. I don't want to have anything to do with you. And that includes kids. Bottom line, this is what you see that's going on. But basically, you have a lot of people out here, again, talking about Epstein. And most of the country has never even heard of Jeffrey Epstein. They haven't. But see, when you have sources like CNN that a lot of your dumb folks watch, when they repeat the name over and over and over again, you see a lot of people on the left, they're sheep. And why they sheep? They're sheep because they always follow an ideology, even if they don't know about it. Like the No Kings protest. I would go out there and ask somebody, why are you protesting? Well, Trump's a fascist. Someone come up with a follow-up question. Where'd you hear that from? Oh, well, CNN. Well, have you ever tried any other news source besides CNN? Have you tried groundnews.com? See, in America, the problem is you have a number of people who believe that they're entitled. In their heart of hearts, they think they don't have to work for anything. If you're going to make it in this country, you're going to have to compete. But you have a number of individuals who want to go full-blown socialism in this country. The young people. And see, the young people don't understand that if they live that long, their mindset will always change too, because they're going to have to pay for things. And the funny thing about it is, because the baby boomers and some Gen Xers and even some of the individuals in the silent generation messed up a lot of the economy. We have a deficit. Well, they're going to end up paying for what the past did and for the social programs. Now, I'm looking at Mamdani. He wants government run stores. He wants free buses. Well, you're not going to have free buses. $600 million. And see, that's why Mamdani wants to talk to Trump. He was running around all big and bad that he'll take on Trump. You can't take on him. You can't take on an entity that is going to give you federal dollars. So now Trump has reversed some of his positions. And I guarantee Mamdani, and mark my word on this, mark my word on this, it's not going to be able to go full-blown communist because you have Governor Kathy Hochul running, and then you have, I believe her name is Stefanik in New York. She's also running for governor. And right now, which I don't go by the polls, right now it's a dead heat. And if Stefanik beats Hochul, because Hochul was the lieutenant governor when Cuomo had a lot of issues. And Mamdani, he won because Cuomo wasn't a good candidate. And Curtis Sliwa, he might as well not run. He just won't win. And what won it in New York is you had a number of individuals who were immigrants. That's who really voted for Mamdani. People who were actual New Yorkers, they didn't vote for Mamdani. But you have individuals out here who think Mamdani is cool. I know he was a former rapper. I know he tried to cut his hair off to become black so he could get into med school. People don't know that about Mamdani. Mamdani is from Uganda, and Uganda is in Africa. And I said it in my last video. I'm trying to protect you, feminists. Feminists love that Mamdani. If he brings this culture over here, you wear burqas. He might bring in Sharia law. And under Sharia law, women don't have any rights. And I always say this, FAFO, fuck around and find out. All of you individuals, particularly you young folk out there who are really not engaged in politics, you think the world is fair. The problem is the world has always been unfair. You've always had to have and have nots. That's in every generation. It's just the technology was different and the times were different. But although the times were different, you actually had the same issues. They weren't as magnified because you didn't have the 24-hour media, but they were there. This is what individuals don't understand when it comes to the real world. They don't know how it works. Socialism, I just want to say this. A lot of you Americans, particularly young individuals, everybody's not going to be like Norway or Sweden. You look at what's going on over there right now in the UK. They don't have any rights. They had an older woman over there who was arrested for praying silently. That's authoritarianism right there. See, fascism has something to do with the military. Trump is not a fascist. Because I want to, if you think Trump is a king, I'm going to put these questions out there. Did Trump tell you not to protest? No. Did Trump, he may have sued some of the networks for putting out defamation of his character, but are those networks still on? Yes. Is NPR still on? Yes. They cut the funding from the taxpayers paying for it, but it's still on. I saw a video out there where Trump signed a football for black people. Is he really racist? No, he's not racist. Two white liberals who are racist. That's who the real racist people are. And everybody knows it. And the Democrats are trying to do anything to usurp their bullying to keep people on the right. Because if they had their way, people on the right wouldn't be voting. But again, when you have this judge in Texas, now I want to see where this is going to go. It's probably going to go up to the Supreme Court. But I want to see what's going to happen with California. Because California has already done a lot of redistricting. They're trying to counteract Texas. They passed Prop 50. Now it's funny, the citizens didn't even want to pass it, but somehow they passed it anyway because they got enough of the citizens to vote. And one of the problems is with this country is you have too many individuals who are uninformed. It's all about hating Trump. They're watching The View. They're watching even so many individuals here, number of guys here who have opinions. Don't look at the politics. They don't know what fascism is. They don't know what socialism is. I mean, if you're here on YouTube and you do relationship content, stay with that. That's your bread and butter. Don't try to go into politics. Let me cover the politics. Like Angry Man, no Ringo's trying to do some politics. No, guys, stay with the relationship stuff. You don't understand what fascism is. You don't read enough. You don't understand the history. And shout out to people like Machismo and shout out to Mr. O with the info. Shout out to Salty Balls, Hoop Jargon. Shout out to those guys. Shout out to people like Barry Cunningham, Doc Rich, Greg Foreman, from the Black conservative perspective. Those are the guys out there doing the real politics. But again, when it comes to these cases, the Democrats, they keep utilizing all these judges who were appointed by Joe Biden. Now, you're a federal judge and you're trying to block something. What gives that federal judge the power to block something? Because it's going to go to the Supreme Court. And all these judges are doing, they're activist judges. See, the Democrats can't win in the booth unless they cheat. And it won't be too long before voter IDs come into play. No mail-in ballots. Won't be too long. Now, I know I live here in the state of Indiana, and even the Republicans, they're a little bit on the fence about redistricting. But I will say this about Indiana. You have, like I live here in Indianapolis. I think Carson's his name. Indianapolis is blue. But even if I go vote here in Marion County, which is all Indianapolis, leave Lawrence and Speedway and Beech Grove and Cumberland. The bottom line is I still live here in the state of Indiana. And right here in the state of Indiana, it's all red. So even with the population around here, around 2 million, it's still red. So we're pretty safe here. And then Ohio, there's plenty of red states here. But what I want to say is this. You have too many individuals right now, and the left has already told you, and there were 8 Democrats. 8 Democrats who voted to get the government open. 8 Democrats. And then with the Epstein files, why didn't the Democrats talk about it? See, where Democrats lost is, again, I'm just going to repeat this. If it was really about Trump, should have brought it out when Trump was running for president the second time. You were trying to hem him up, put him in jail with bogus charges, and let the Epstein files go. Now the Epstein files, I believe tomorrow they vote on it, or the day they voted on it, and we're going to find out. Now, I don't believe the Epstein files are ever going to go away because there's a lot of mystery behind it. Who was involved? We don't know all the players. That's why individuals, they got into something that they don't know about. How many children we don't know. Like I said, most of us don't even know who Jeffrey Epstein was. We heard about him on television. We heard that he offed himself in jail. And he did it because he was going to get off anyway, like Jeffrey Dahmer was. But again, when you deal with a number of ignorant people out here, that's the problem. When I look at all the social topics, particularly here in the Black sector, and even the white sector, when it comes to this gender stuff, it's all gaslighting. What the women are trying to do too, because it's a bit of social topics, they're trying to reverse everything to make it like it's men's fault. Like we're having problems. No, we're not having problems at all. Matter of fact, the only thing that we need most women for is to pop and drop. They don't have anything to offer. Many of them don't put a man first anyway. And if you're a man out here dating, a number of women, particularly in the Black community, they got kids. So who's going to come first? Kids, then your family, then your friends, then your dog, then their dogs, then their jobs, and then their entertainment, and then where's the man fit? Last. So because he fits last, what's he going to do? He's not going to take her seriously. He's going to use her to pop and drop. That's all she has to offer. Most women don't want to offer anything. And most women have jobs, and who's giving them jobs? Men. Well, you don't have as many women out here, although they have all of the degrees. They've allowed DEI, particularly white women. White women, it's funny with a number of white liberal women, the latte liberals out here. They do the most complaining, but yet they're the most privileged. This is why, and shout out to Minister Jeff, says the white woman is God. It is true. Whenever she complains, she's in government. She generally gets what she wants because of the number of the white, weak men out here. Not a Black woman. She's just a foot soldier for the white woman. Although she hates the white woman in some cases, but she likes the white women in some cases. When I tell you about the same-sex partners, again, I just named you a few individuals. Look at people like Obama. He's not for Black people. Trump was asked by a Black woman, what's DEI? When at least Trump had the guts to go to the belly of the beast when he went up to Chicago and got interviewed by some Black women. You don't ever see these liberals. See, that's the thing about a liberal. Liberals are cowards. You never see liberals come on to Fox News. Now, I'm not crazy about Fox News. Only a couple people I like on Fox News. I mean, there's no Bill O'Reilly. There's no Tucker. Laura Ingraham and Jesse Waters. They're about the only ones that I can deal with. Mark Levin, he's pretty good. He's a lawyer. He went to my one of my alma maters, Temple University. But in the meantime, most of them, they're all corporate media. And when I hear the White House Caroline speak, Caroline Levitt, she speaks, and she's a very good, better than the last one that last two that I saw in there that Biden had. The reporters just asked dumb questions. They say a lot of dumb things. I even look on Yahoo. Most of these people don't know their head from their ass, and they just repeat what they hear. Now, I will say some has Trump reversed some of his positions. He's cut the tariff off on beef, and some of the vegetables. Now, the reason why he's done it, he's not going to be dealing with Mexico. He's going to be dealing with the beef from Venezuela. But I have to ask you, when we talk about beef, well, for the most part, do you eat steak every day? I don't eat steak every day. Sure, beef is a lot of money, especially Wagyu beef, but I don't eat it every day. And see, this is the bottom line. You have individuals who are going out to eat and they're spending money. This is what people don't understand. If things are that high, how come people have enough money to go out to Red Lobster, Cheesecake Factory, Sullivan's Steakhouse, Ruth Chris Steakhouse, and they're even going to some of Chef Ramsay's places? Bottom line is, what you hear on the news is there are a bunch of people who live in a bubble. That's exactly what it is. They can't get outside their latte liberalism in New York, Chicago, and LA, and some of these other big cities. They don't know what's going on in anywhere else in this country. They don't. But yet they got a nerve enough to get on TV, talk about what's fair and what's not fair. And these are the individuals making a lot of money. And in fact, the Democrats, we got all the billionaires making money, billionaires. Yeah, a number of them are liberal. You think those liberals are going to stay in New York? See, when you start fucking around with people's money, political ideology goes out the window. And see, that's what a lot of these young kids don't know. A lot of these young kids don't have a clue. Now, have they been dealt a bad deal of cards? Yeah, they have. Because the early baby boomers took everything. They had all the pensions. And yet the rest of us are paying for the early baby boomers and some of the silent generation. I know my mom and dad, they're still living, they're from the silent generation. And the early baby boomers, I'm talking about from 1945 maybe to 1957, who are, but even some of them, all of them didn't go to college. But they can't go to college. You have a number of people up here who don't understand how the real world works, and that's why they can't see what's going on around them. And then the violence. A lot of violence going on out there. I mean, when I watch Channel 4 and 59 News here in Indianapolis, every day, something's going on. It's a car crash, it's people getting shot. And I've been here in Indiana for 10 years. And the only city in the Midwest that had a high crime rate was Chicago. And you can put Detroit in there and Milwaukee, that's the next one. But it's coming over into Indianapolis, Columbus, Ohio. It's because you have individuals who are out of control, entitled individuals. And you see what I'm talking about? You want the workers to run everything? Be anarchy if you let the workers run everything. What the Democrats don't want, they want lawlessness. They want to be able to do what they want, but they want to tell us that they know what's best for us. That's the problem. They use a lot of projection, gaslighting. They use a lot of lead, lies, emotion, assumption, deceit, disease, delusion, deception. That's what the individuals on the left do. See, the left doesn't have any plans. Many of them, they don't even know what socialism is. They went to college and they heard the academics talk about socialism. None of them have lived in a socialist country. So for you Democrats, I just want to tell you this. If you really want to go for socialism, here are a few countries, and communism, here are a few countries I can tell you. You know, Trump wants to get at Maduro, president of Venezuela, who won by cheating. Maduro replaced Hugo Chavez. It's a communist country. Cuba, go to the land of Castro, communist. You go into, I believe, North Korea, it's communist. You go into China, communist. Yeah, China's still communist. And Russia, still communist. Go over to these socialist countries. You don't make a lot of money in these socialist countries. You might think you're living good, but you are taxed a lot. But this is what a number of the Americans believe in to make everything equal. No, in this country, you have to compete. It's driven by capital, ownership. You look again under the Fourth Amendment. There's nothing about a welfare state and benevolence taking care of poor people in the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. Maybe some of you should read that. A number of you won't read it. But the people who aren't reading, these are the individuals out there voting and protesting. Because in the end, the bottom line, I'm just going to say this. You can hate Trump all you want. You can talk about the billionaires. Because on the left, you have the billionaires. You got the biggest billionaire in George Soros, who's funding everything that you're putting out. He even funded, which to me is a conflict of interest. He had a black DA in St. Louis, can't remember her name, and in Philadelphia, and probably some other ones. He was paying their salary. Now, generally, if you work for the government, you have to put in a final disclosure or financial disclosure. I'll be funding that Letitia James up in New York. So you talk about money, the Democrats have big donors. But see, they want to get all the old guard out so they can bring in their socialism, because the left wing of the Democratic Party tells you exactly where the Democrats want to go. They want to go full-blown socialist and communism. Communist. That's where they want to go. That's why when I look at people, many people are driven by ignorance. They're sheep. Founding fathers did not mention anything about a democracy, and we are a republic. But I keep hearing democracy. We're not a democracy. We do have a representative government where we can vote individuals in and out. But you go over to those communist countries and you talk about their government, the socialist countries. Look at Putin. You don't have any rights there. But yet, you have the left who hates America but benefits from America. They want that kind of government. So they talk that stuff because they don't live in those countries. Guarantee if they went to those countries And they started raising Cain in those countries you can't even protest, maybe put to death, especially in some of these Middle East countries. And the colleges, my thing is, if colleges aren't teaching the curriculum, take their funding away. I think too many people go to college and they're not ready for it. College is an indoctrination camp. That's all it is. But again, ignorance is a bliss. When it comes to living your life, we're not a collectivist people. We're individuals. The bottom line is, you have some people who have issues. And I'm not talking about the people who've had issues. I'm talking about the able-bodied people who made bad choices in their lives, and they expect people who didn't make bad choices to pay for their bad decisions. The bottom line in this country is this. You're either going to be an adult, you're going to be a kid all your life. The bottom line is, chickens have come home to roost. Many of you who've been living off the government and you expect people like me to continue to pay, and then you make fun of us if we don't want to pay, what you have done, bitten off more than you can chew, cut off your nose to spite your face. You bit the hand that feeds it. And now, look at you. All that independence, that strength is going out the window. Why? Because you live in the United States of America. And in this country, one must understand that there is no free lunch. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you are looking for some STEM content, check out my second channel. If you have a video, it's either Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And on that channel, I give you a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. Now, here's where you can find me. 411 Talk Zone radio show channel. You can find me right here on YouTube, X, formerly Twitter. And shout out to Brother Tito, Black Ram. I forgot them as well. You can also find me on Rumble. You can find me on True Social. For the QCIS channel, you can find me right here on YouTube, X, formerly Twitter. And you can find me on LinkedIn. And for you individuals, I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about the ones who believe somebody owes them something and they're jealous of what somebody else has, and they're making themselves superior by thinking they're helping us, but they're oppression. They're really putting us in oppression in their minds, and they think they're better than us. And I'm talking about your white liberals out there. And you got some black liberals out there, some black feminists out there, your bell hooks type. But in the meantime, for you individuals who aren't offended, and people like saying she can fight Leslie Jones, you're just another hood chick that's loud, and Kelly Clarkson was mocking you on her show. We don't take you seriously. And when you're not getting what you want, then you're going to say that a guy can't have sex, he can't screw right. No, maybe it's you, your attitude, because you said what you said. And usually ugly women, you got a lot to say. But in the end, you're still in the same position. You're ugly. If you're ugly on the outs or ugly on the inside and outside, you're done. We don't hear you. But for the individuals who aren't offended by this content, because I'm here to tell you the truth, facts out there, I'll bless you. For individuals who want to change, I'll bless you too. And don't be jealous out there, because that's also taking people down the wrong path where all the violence is. You're not entitled to something that you didn't earn. But I will say this: always be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Know that the sun rises in the east. That's right, the sun rises in the east, it sets in the west. Doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. You don't like the shoe, then change it. Once again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.